Of the National Best Farmer Award, and he is the man that leads the association of others who have achieved this success in their careers, in their endeavor as farmers. Good morning and welcome to Sunlight once again, Philip. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Is that good news for the farmers or not?
It's good news and bad news because today's market is a consumer's market. So if the prices are very high and they are not buying more, a lot of the perishable products that we have will go bad.
Why would prices jump so fast by such a margin?
Yeah, there are so many factors. Whenever there are increases in some of the items that we use, especially fuel, then the cost of transportation too goes high. And that is one of the main factors that mitigate against agricultural produce transportation across the country. So that is one of the
70%. When you look at some of those margins, they are huge. They are much greater than the increases in fuel cost.
Yeah, because we have an informal trade system. You look at the Upper East region today, for instance, you could have maize at 60 Ghana cedis for 100 kilos. You go to the Upper West, you have it at 58 Ghana cedis for 100 kilos. You come to the northern region, you have it at 45 Ghana cedis for 100 kilos. You go to the Volta region, you have it at 75 cedis for 100 kilos. You come to Greater Accra, you have it at 70 Ghana cedis for 100 kilos. And then you go to Ashanti region. So when you look at the prices, you can see the differences in price. Now, you ask why. This year, for instance, you realize that in the Upper East region, you realize that you have the price at 60. But when you go to the northern region, it's 45 Ghana cedis for the same 100 kilos. There is an issue. The issue is the patronage within the West African sub-region, where we have Burkina people, the market people from Burkina who come to buy, the traders, they come to Ghana to normally buy maize. So this year, for instance, they have also produced a lot of maize, so they are not coming. So for that reason, we have, still a lot of stocks of maize across the country. Now, our poultry farmers too are the largest consumers of maize in the country. For example, this particular season, they are not buying much for a reason not known, but I think that they are not expanding. So you have a lot of stocks of maize in the system currently because of this reason. But the prices are high.
Well, it's not hard to imagine how the prices of foodstuffs would affect the consumers. How do they affect the farmers? Just take some time to think about it.
You see, the thought that goes to my mind is that you realize that they are talking about rubber bowls. There is no standardization. So you look at the market, they are using measurements which are not approved measurements. If we are not using standard measurements, we should be able to say a kilo of garden eggs costs so much. So everybody is doing whatever. They buy them in bags. The bags are not weighed. Then they also come and divide them. So you cannot really budget to go to the market. You have to go and then use your fiscal eye to be able to determine what you want to pay. So we don't have an organized market, and that could also be one of the factors that makes prices sporadic. Another problem is that the cost of the agro inputs is one of the issues. We also have to use imported agro inputs, and at each time whenever there are increases in various issues, whether it's fuel or any other item, then transportation cost becomes an issue because you need to transport these things from the main centers to the rural urban areas, the rural areas. So this has become an issue. So it will also increase our production cost. For fuel, for instance, our tractors use fuels, and some machines too use fuel. We need to also transport. So all these trigger food prices. In other parts of the world, agricultural fuel is subsidized, and then there's separate transportation for agricultural produce. So for that reason, you can always have be able to have some kind of one single price of a product in all the 10 regions because we are using one transportation system. So the price is fixed. And in that case, if government even want to intervene to subsidize, it's very even and could be done. But in our case, the main factor is the transportation. Secondary, lack of standardization. That is one of the issues.
How much of the food that we see on our local markets is actually locally grown, and how much or is any of it imported?
Yeah, tomatoes, for instance, is imported. We are importing about almost 70% of the tomatoes currently. If you can cast your mind back for the past 5 years, you don't hear of tomato gluts in the country, because the farmers have decided not to grow the tomatoes in larger quantities, because anytime they grow they have problems, so they have cut down production. And because of that cut down of production, we are buying much of our tomatoes from Burkina Faso. Onions, we are also growing very minimal. I think we'll be growing not less than 5 or 10% of our national need. We are importing from Niger and Angola. So these are some of the issues. So some of the items you see in the market, a lot of the fresh vegetables, even when it comes to the green pepper, most are also coming from Togo.
You mentioned the cost of inputs, and you were very specific about transportation. What about fertilizer and pesticides? What role do they play in the cost of food?
You see, they play a very significant role, because you need fertilizers to be able to at least boost the yields. And the cost of fertilizer has also been phenomenal. Though government is subsidizing, if you look at the quantum of production, the total land that we are putting into production and what government is subsidizing is so minimal. But I'm of the view that there is something must be done, because there is a lot of subsidies going. The government is going to subsidize those companies that are into the trade are also being tax-free. But at the end of the day, when they are putting the product into the market, looking at our country, for instance, our agro inputs are more expensive than the sub-region. It's sometimes in the cases, or even in the world market. If you want to bring fertilizer and deliver the fertilizer in Tema holistically as a farmer, you may be delivering it at a cheaper cost than what the dealers are selling. And these are some of the issues that need to be addressed. Whether or not farmers cannot be empowered to bring their own agro inputs into competition with those that are dealing, because it seems to be like a kind of cartel operating. So we, the farmers, are held into hostage to buy agro inputs at a particular high cost. For that reason, it's also part of what you are seeing in the market. So, and the government subsidy that is coming in cannot cover it can cover not less than about 5% of the total production needs of the farmers. So this is one of the issues. So we need to look at the tax exemption systems and then also the subsidy systems. And the farmers need to be at the forefront, so that at the end of the day, we should be able to reduce the production. And if we don't have those interventions, don't have direct bearing on us, then it means that production costs will continue to be high. So these are the factors. The next issue too is storage. We need to be able, at the farm gate level, to be able to store this food and release it to the market systematically. Because why you are having some of the price hikes too is that somebody goes in to buy about 10 crates of tomatoes. Before he gets to Accra, 4 crates are spoilt because of at least the transportation system that they are using. He will put the 4 crate cost onto the 6 crates. And that kind of irregular transportation systems are also one of the issues that we have. We are not having standard transport systems. So the losses that the traders make and the farmers make is too high, and they have to pass that to the consumer.
Sam Sanderson is joining us via the internet. He posts writing that we should be getting used to these increases of items in the country and the world as a whole. Is that what we mean by food security, that prices are going to continue going up?
You see, food should be one of the cheapest things for our citizens in Ghana. We are an agricultural country. And I'll give you an example. If you go to India, look at the population. But food is one of the cheapest in China. China, as large as they are, 1 billion and over people, they have ensured that food is minimum. You are guaranteed to eat food without even struggle. And we should continue to ensure that food security. Well, if our working population have to spend about almost 50% of their salary in food, then we are nowhere. So we need to look at that seriously. And the farmers, for instance, are cutting down production as I'm speaking to you. Today, for instance, we used to grow a lot of cassava, and for that reason there was some intervention to process the cassava into gari and now to starch. There have even been an intervention through government. Some small scale factories have been established to process this cassava. As I speak to you, in some areas, you go to a central region, for instance, you have some factories there, but they don't have cassava in the central region. They are buying the cassava at Kwasa at the Volta region and also buying in Techima, transporting that cassava to the central region while there's a lot of land there to grow the cassava. Ask me why. When they put the cassava on the ground, it takes them sometime 12 months or 16 months to harvest. And the farmers have realized that if they are renting the land and they rent the land for 12 months, they can grow maize twice or rice 3 times. So why would they grow the cassava? So the farmer is also becoming alert and becoming a business person, not just for mere subsistence, that he will invest where he will get returns faster. So then you realize that those factories are now struggling to go far, transport cassava to wherever they are. So there is a need for a kind of system to be put in place to ensure that we are growing enough of what really we eat. We are able to store it to make sure that we have released it systematically into the market. And that can only be done when the authorities are working with the farmers in a right manner, that the farmers are engaged in the forefront. But if it comes to a point that the farmers are not directly engaged, the farmers will relax. You may not respect the farmers or think that they are nobody, but when the food prices trigger, you will now realize that it is better the farmers we were engaging the farmers properly. Because when you engage the farmers properly within the community level, you will be able to know what the problems are from the beginning. The interventions government will be making will go directly to the farmer, to the point that at the end of the day, you don't need to have such situations that we are having, that food prices have to escalate. And this food is also grown locally. Even if it was the foreign food products that are escalating, we would have said, okay, because they are imported and they are taxes. But their prices are even still a little stable.
What's likely to happen in the second quarter? What's your short-term forecast in this regard?
My forecast will be that if we do not do things rightly, production is going to fall. Because you have a lot of farmers holding some grains in their hands. And if they are unable to sell to be able to go and produce again, they will likely reduce their acreages because there's no market. And it's not that there is no market as such, it is that within the ECOWAS trade hub, as I told you, Burkina is not entering and buying the grains from us as they used to buy. So you think that we have enough. But because that external market is not there, the poultry farmers too are not buying enough maize. So you think there's enough maize. But so this is, it's an issue that should be looked at critically. Who? The best would have been the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to call the farmers and sit down and say, look, prices are going high. So what are the issues? The number of the tomatoes, quantity of tomatoes we want for the country for the whole year is this quantity, rice is this quantity, fish is this quantity, etc. You have all the categories of farmers who are into this business. Now, what is government program? Government program is A, B, C, D. These are the interventions government want to give. Which areas are you producing? Because we want to give you technical support. Then the bottlenecks. What are the bottlenecks? And these are addressed. Whilst the commodity brokers are also sitting on one table to pick up the commodities. If transportation is a problem, then they will be looking at targeting transportation to reduce the cost. And this need to be a demand driven. If you ask the farmers to come and be sitting in the ministry, we think that it is the duty of the ministry to invite the farmers. Just recently, we have had the opportunity of meeting the new Honorable Minister of Food and Agriculture, and we went to Liberty Group to have a discussion on the interventions that have been put in place. But what I see is that the will of the politician to ensure that things are done for them to, get back to power or to be able to sustain themselves in making sure that they are able to carry their programs is there. But we have serious problems when it comes to the technocrat and the bureaucrat, where things are not done, in a more expedited manner, and then their engagement with we, the private sector, we, the farmers. For example, if the ministry have some programs that are relating to agriculture, they are subsidizing fertilizer. We don't have a national fertilizer committee that involves the farmers. So we do not know what quantity of fertilizer is being subsidized. We do not know what quantity of fertilizer is going to northern region. We don't know what fertilizer is coming to the central region. So all it is that on paper we have subsidized the fertilizer. It is in go and see the vendors. So when we go and see the vendors, within 3 days they say the subsidized one is finished. It is the one that they are selling which is there. The same brand of fertilizer is there's no mark to show that this is the subsidized fertilizer.
You're saying that we need much more attention when it comes to regulation.
You see, you can't be working for people and the people are not involved.
Talking about involving the people, I'm sure everyone watching right now would like to know if you think that food prices in our markets are going to stay more or less the same in the immediate future, considering that we don't seem to have any more fuel price increases in the same foreseeable period.
The prices will go high if certain interventions are not put in place.
Even without increases in fuel?
Yeah, because if the farmers are producing less, if in any case we are not, recycling, we are not utilizing, we call it land utilization. You have land that you can use 4 times and you are using it once, because perhaps you don't have irrigation systems, or because you are having unfair prices, so you are reducing production. So there's a need for a holistic approach where the engagement between the public sector and then the private sector. We need to know what quantum of maize. Cocoa, for instance, before we start, we know the quantity of cocoa we want to grow. Cocoa board knows. So if it's 1 million tons, they're prepared to target the 1 million tons. So we need to know the program. I think we are discussing with the Minister of Food and Agriculture for the minister to tell us clearly how many tons of maize do we need in this country? How many tons of tomatoes? How many tons? No, yes.
Because I know how much food I need to feed myself and my family. And Felix agrees with me. Says while our price of food increase because of fuel and other reasons, our salaries, the money that we have, remains the same, making it harder and harder for us to maintain or even improve our standards of living. I'm seriously thinking about becoming a backyard farmer and growing my own food, just so I can get in on the boom, the food price boom. Maybe I can sell some of my stuff to Philip.